Hey guys, I'm back. Just got like a little bit of a hit to do a live today. Just a quick one covering the topic of so you got gifts and you have no idea what you're supposed to be doing with them or how you're supposed to use them. So I really wanted to chat on this just for a little bit. I'm not going to go live for too long today. I've been feeling the need to definitely like rest. And I also have calls in just a little while with peeps, which I love, but I need to rest before I do that. I'm gonna make sure this gets shared in the groups. So as you hop on, say hello. I'd love to hear from you guys as you're getting on. Hey Ashley, hey Peggy. Make sure this gets shared in the Intentional Intuitive Entrepreneur group. So I'd love to know while I'm like sharing these out, why don't you guys put in the comments and let me know what gifts have you noticed opening up for you? And what do you think one of your gifts is? So it could be spiritual and intuitively based or not, okay? Like, are you gifted with Excel spreadsheets? I wanna know, pop them in the comments while I'm sharing this out. Because I think a lot of times we think that when we talk about gifts, it can only be, Ashley, I'm gonna share this in your group too. I think sometimes we think like it can only be for like spiritual basis, right? Like when people are talking about gifts, like, oh, I have the gift of clear hearing, I have the gift of clear sight. Well, we all have those. Every single person has them. It's just the difference between the recognition of it and how you're labeling it. And a lot of people have gifts that are used in very, very different ways that are, you know, everything is spiritual in nature. So how could it not be a gift? You know what I mean? It's just the recognition and the ownership of it that matters. I'm gifted with listening and helping others. Yeah, sharing is caring. Hey, Kristen. Can't wait to hear back from you. Hey Paula, I'm gifted with listening and helping others. Awesome. I think there's like a slight delay between my phone and my laptop, but that's okay. Okay, so I kept feeling like this needed to be said because a lot of the time, like I said, like a lot of people think about gifts and they're like, well, like what I hear a lot is, Allie, I want to channel like you do. And I'm like, this isn't a comparison game. Like this isn't a better than, less than, more than, less than, more tuned in, less tuned in than anyone else. But for the sake of the way that we tend to see it, I have had those thoughts before, and I've actually been kind of looking around for mentors for myself for the first time in a little while now, because I'm actually wanting to deepen my gifts, but I'm understanding spiritually, and not just spiritually, like not just with spiritual gifts, but in every single area that you exist in, your highest and best you can do is to go within and have. So a lot of times that takes a support system. It takes a really solid mentor who has done that work, who knows. So I'm actually like kind of shopping around for someone to support me in that. And I've had a couple of different mentors over time who've helped me with a lot of mindset work. And that's why I can do that with my clients so well. But it's funny. It's like a lot of the time we think about, yeah, like they're like spiritual as fuck. Like, and we think about, oh, I have the gift of knowing things before they happen. I have the gift of clairaudience. I can hear my guides, or claircognizance. I can download ideas. So like what I've been noticing is I'll have a lot of readings with people where they're going, what's my purpose? Like, so purpose, your purpose is to be happy and to be you and to remember that you are love. And that is fucking it. That's it. There's no complication in it. And when I say your purpose is to be you, I don't mean the ego projection of yourself. So I don't mean Allie with all of Allie's things and Allie's skin tone and Allie's hair and Allie's unique spiritual gifts and Allie's tone of voice and Allie's family and Allie's house and Allie's lifestyle. That is not what we mean. What we mean is your purpose is to be you. And what are we all? Love. That's fucking it. They're like, that's it. That's all you need to know. So a lot of people tie purpose to ego, and tying purpose to ego is what am I meant to do and put forth into the world, which comes from knowing thyself as the ego. So what I tend to do is, personally, I tend to meet people in the middle because I understand that. I do understand what it's like to not know why the F am I here? What am I doing here? What are my unique gifts? We want to differentiate all the time. So we're constantly looking for, what am I gifted in? What am I meant to be doing here? And the answer is always whatever you freaking want. Whatever you want, whatever will make you happy. It's like this, I think a lot of the time we make this so complicated. When it is complicated, that is a clear sign that you're leading from the head and from the ego that likes complication. It likes things to be tough. It thinks there needs to be suffering and struggle and sacrifice. That is a clear indication that you're not going in the direction of the most loving path for you. You can't get it wrong, but you can simplify it. You can take that complication and say, I choose not to engage with this. I choose that I recognize that this is making me feel bad, and I am here to distill it and recognize that only love is real. That is all you're here to do. So when we talk about gifts, just to be clear, we're talking about ego manifestation of the gifts. So it's not bad. It's not bad, but for the sake of working with the perception and the reality that we're in, we'll talk about it, okay? So for me, I realized like a lot of my gifts that were illuminated to me were by my choosing, by my soul's calling. And what I tended to find out is that it was also part of my personal perception to use them. You can have any number of gifts that you choose to cultivate, but it's really about what makes you happy, right? What makes you happy. So there's different zones, right? So I always am talking about the book, The Big Leap. So in part of The Big Leap actually kind of pisses me off. I'm not going to talk about that today because I think there is a part in it which is very much about your upper limits and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, there's no upper limit. We're limitless. There's no. So I think it does help with that, but it also can be confining. It talks about upper limits, and now we have this whole trend of talking about upper limits in the coaching industry, and I'm like, that's not helping anyone. And we talk about all the things that have to be associated with upper limits, and so of course we manifest them, like sickness and shit like that. So now the thing is, in this book, there's the zone of excellence and the zone of genius. I'll just focus on those two. The zone of excellence is, I'm really good at this, but I don't enjoy it necessarily all the time. Does anyone have a gift like that? Where you're like, yeah, I'm really good at making Excel spreadsheets, but I don't like it. I'm really good at writing, but it's not my favorite thing to do right now. Does anyone have a gift like that? Or I think some people who become mediums fall into this. I'm really good at connecting to the deceased and connecting people to their loved ones, but I don't always love it. I have this gift and I don't necessarily think I'm using it in that way that I need to use it is really the right way to say it, right? So there are also a lot of people who are starting to look for what is called the zone of genius in the book. And all that is the most loving form for your gifts and for you to express in the world from the ego standpoint, right? So all that is a higher frequency thing, which is, I'm really good at it and people need it, and most importantly, I enjoy it. So it's all these things, they just come together. I enjoy it is key. They're it's essential, because if you're not enjoying it, what is the point? You will eventually stop doing it. You will eventually be in this place where you're like, this feels like shit. I'm not gonna do it anymore. Right? And that's where burnout comes from. And a lot of people have burnout that shows up physically. So, illness is manifested. Tiredness is ego that's manifested. In the eternal life force energy, there's no tiredness, there's no exhaustion. I've been learning about that lately, and I've been like, wow, this is really interesting, because I think we actually misinterpret exhaustion and tiredness and what it actually is. And that's a topic for another day. But what it is it usually almost always begins with spiritual mental, emotional, then physical. So when you're at the physical point where you're physically starting to burn out, you're getting tired, you're noticing that you feel tired, or you're having crying, you're like crying and stuff like that, that is because way back over here, your soul started to say, hey, you're not being loving. You're not doing things in a way that makes you happy. Your only function is to be happy. And I just had this reflected back at me again this morning in the Course in Miracles. I flipped over to a random page and it talked about specialness and how specialness is ego. There is no special to God. It's all just love. We're all just love. There is no special. But for the sake of understanding it from our perspectives, because we have to like work with where we are, right? And a lot of us want to be unique. We want to be special. But we all, and they're reminding me, you all have the same fucking gifts. All of you. There's not one of you that doesn't have intuition or sixth sense. There's not one of you that doesn't have the same gift of claircognizance. There's not one of you that doesn't have the same gift of clairaudience. It's just a shift in whether or not you're recognizing it, trusting in it, and feeling worthy. Okay? Like they're like, you guys all have gifts. How you express them does not fucking matter to love. Doesn't matter. So do it in a way that feels good. So a lot of us are like, oh, I need to figure out my gifts. I need to figure out what I'm here to do in the world. And I know that. I still have times where I'm like, I'm not sure. I was just talking to Ashley yesterday about, I think I meant to trance channel and I'm practicing, but something's going on here and I can't figure it out. And so I finally put like a thing on it, and I realized it's not just that I'm meant to or I have to. Because Source requires nothing of you. Literally in the Course in Miracles it says you need do nothing. Source is whole and complete as it is. It requires nothing from us, because we are whole and complete as we are. So our egos tell us, I need to figure this out. I need to understand this. I need to find my purpose. I need to find my expression. But if you recognize your wholeness and your completeness and where you are, everything you do simply becomes because it's fun, because it makes me happy. And that is radiant, magnetic energy. That is the energy we need to be in when we're trying to attract, trying to manifest, going to create, which are all ego things, right? But if we want those things, we need to recognize the internal abundance, which is I deserve to recognize my own inner light and love and happiness at all times, no matter fucking what. Doesn't matter if I'm a homeless guy living in the woods with no friends and family to speak of, or if I'm over here and I've got a million friends and a beautiful house and tons of money. And if you're doing what you love, Source doesn't give a shit. And Source doesn't judge if you're not doing what you love, for that matter. They're like, Source doesn't judge any of it. Your ego does. And what your ego is doing is actually part of the grand illusion that you're in. So I know this is intense, but so for the sake of the spiritual gift stuff, because they're like, a lot of you guys are in here saying, I want to magnetize people to me. I want to feel abundant and attractive. I want to harness my intuition. I want to channel Source. They're like, you are channels already. Your body is not who you are. Your body's just the vessel. You are consciousness, pure and simple. Love consciousness. You are your own pieces and aspects of Source. So is that tree by you. So is that desk. So is that kid downstairs that you call your son. So is that jackass in the Middle East who's shooting people. All Source love manifesting into different forms to your perception. So this is intense, right? This is a big deal, because a lot of us will look at these other beings and say, no, I don't like it. And my ego hates it too. Like I look at stuff like that and I'm like, oh man, I can't believe these shootings are happening, and I get sad and I'm like, man, what is going on? And they're saying, Allison, all it is a call to add love. Now you can choose to take actions and use gifts in this world in order to shift and see, because you are in this world. You're here having the human experience. So identify, what do I like doing? What am I naturally good at? And where do they overlap? And what is going to make me believe that it's a service to the world and it's okay? Like they're saying, service, happiness, get to overlap. They get to be the same thing. You don't have to choose. So if you're seeing things in the world that you don't like, you get to choose. How do I want to use my gifts to serve? And it is not going to be the same thing throughout your life. And a lot of people have a lot of judgment of that. Well, I'm like, well, I can communicate with people's loved ones, but there are times when I don't want to do a lot of medium readings. To be totally honest, like I just don't want to do that all the time. I love talking to people. I love having those relationships, but I also like to have a lot of my time and energy for my son. I like to have a lot of my time and energy to just connect with source just for me, not to always have to be in a conversation. I like to channel writing. I'm writing books. I'm doing a podcast. I have other stuff I want to create. I want to get on stage and go talk to a lot of people. And that's part of the event in California that I'm going to have, where we're actually going to channel source. Because we are already channeling source. Like we're all channeling source all the time. Like there is no one person that's more gifted or more spiritual than anyone else. We just, our egos want to categorize it and put levels to it and make something better or worse or more than or less than and right or wrong. And there's just none of it. There's just none of it. It's all just love. It's just manifesting into different forms, and we're collectively, consciously choosing to perceive it in different ways, and that is how wars start. Because it's our like perception that we're separate from love, our perception that we need perception and that we don't know, and that there isn't love, and that our gifts aren't all the same, and that we're not all actually one at the end of the day. If you recognize the oneness that we are at the end of the day, you don't get so obsessed with what are my gifts and what am I meant to do here in the world. But for the sake of that, because I go through that myself, what am I meant to do? What am I meant to do? What is all this for? Like, you know, I have like my moments where I'll be like, what is this for? Am I supposed to be doing this instead? Or am I supposed to be what am I supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be writing another book? I don't know. Am I supposed to be doing this podcast? How do I do this Like, you know, you get into all the details of things and how and what, why, and they just go, dude, chill pill. Take a chill pill and sit down and connect with your highest self, and you're going to realize it's only what feels fun for me. What feels fun for me? That's it. Source is pure, unadulterated love and happiness. It's the highest frequency for the sake of our perception of levels. It actually is our one frequency. But we don't choose to recognize that. So we get into the struggle bus and the complication, right? And they're like, you literally create problems for yourselves, but they're not real. So all you need to start to do, if they're like not even need, but what we would recommend, because source needs nothing. It needs nothing. It has everything. It is everything. And of course, the Miracles is always talking about, like basically, you want to have this and this and this, this and this, recognize it within. You are it. You are everything you want to have and be. Like there is no becoming. It's remembering. It's remembering. So like the illusion of the snake shedding the skins, they're like, the truth is there's no skin to shed. It's just a remembering. You are what you are, like, and you are love, and you are all the same. You're all the same. There's nothing wrong with you. And in fact, there's so much right about you. So identifying gifts is like saying, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough as I am. I need to add more to my plate. I need to develop more. So in the Infinitely Wise Woman program, one of the things that we were doing over and over and over was not just saying, oh, let's channel these beings and those beings and stuff like that. It was really about connecting and trusting yourself. Right? So for the sake of talking about gifts really quickly, I think a lot of people think with spiritual gifts, I've got clairaudience, I need to be a medium, or is being a medium or doing readings or channeling my only option? Well, fuck no, you're a channel for everything in infinite intelligence and infinite wisdom and infinite love. You do whatever you want with that. If you want to bring that into a cause-related effort, because I think that's where a lot of people are being drawn to, but talking themselves down, you know, and saying, second guessing, I don't think I can do that yet, or well, how's that going to work out? You know, I really want to start to solve issues about, you know, gun control, or I want to solve mental health issues, or I really hate seeing abuse of animals in the world, or I want to do some environmentalist projects and save some fish and some dolphins. I want to help, you know, people learn more about nature conservation. I want to help people understand, you know, like there's like certain causes and things we're drawn to, and that's probably part of your soul contract, like not your contract, but like what you're being called to from the highest aspects of yourself, from source, saying, hey, you want to be in the human experience? let's solve some problems, but do it from a place of you love doing it and you love bringing people together around it, because we are meant to work in community. We are meant to work in collaboration. So they're saying one of the gifts that a lot of you guys tend to deny is your gift of connection. Like when you connect with other people, you're actually healing parts of yourself. Like not healing as in it actually needs to be healed, but you're remembering all of the ways that you can love yourself, because all those people are you in infinite forms. Right? Like Heather Zurich-Strobel, you're a piece of me. Sky Lambert, like we're pieces of each other, you know, like everyone is all aspects of the same source, just having different experiences to our consciousness, to our own perception. So that's why they're saying, so the more you can work with the mind and remove your perception of right and wrong, your understanding that I'm not seeing things clearly all the time. And I talked about this last night on a live, that I started to have the revelation, the realization that I was not understanding things clearly, that sometimes I misinterpret my own emotions, like sometimes, and so there's always a chance to come back to love. And so when you're thinking about this in the terms of gifts, you can serve in infinite ways, and they're like, but don't make it about sacrifice and struggle and, well, I got this gift and I got to use it in some way. No, what way feels fun to you? Like what higher purpose would you like to serve? Some of you are here to be parents and to have kids, and that's it. Like some of you guys are here and your greatest calling is going to be to work to remove chemicals from foods. Like some of you guys are being called towards higher causes or greater global purposes, and you're denying it, saying, who am I to do this? But your gifts can be used infinitely. If you all have the gift of intuition, why don't you start applying it at work? Why don't you start applying it with numbers? Why don't you start applying it with data analysis? Why don't you start applying it with technology, with creating new schools, with opening up new spiritual programs, with they're like, you guys don't all just have to go be speakers and authors and channels, and you don't have to do medium readings. There's no have to with Source. Just because, and I got this message loud and clear a couple of days ago, just because you can does not mean you must. Does not mean you must. Like just because I'm a great writer and I love to write doesn't mean I have to write books, and it doesn't mean I have to channel just because I'm clairaudient and claircognizant and can channel. They're like, Allison, you're channeling in every thought and every feeling and every second of every day and every conversation you have with yourself and others. You are channeling, and so is everyone else. All the time, because you are all channeling yourselves. You're all channeling Source all the time. There's no separation. You're all channeling each other too. It's crazy. So a lot of the ego thoughts we have and the fears we have, we're actually tapping into collective fears and consciousness. And they're saying the cool part is there's love in all of that. There's love in all of it. It's actually not real. There's actually just love in all of it. So when we think about developing gifts, even in the Gene Keys, something I noticed is that they don't get super specific. Like there's a glossing over of it, or like a generalization of it. So for example, one of my gifts is my life's work, which is intuition, and then clarity is the Siddhic enlightened state. And in the Siddhic enlightened state, you realize I need do nothing. I'm here to just exist. Right? When we're in the shadow state of it, it's this place of like confusion and doubting what we know and doubting our own wisdom and our own trust. And they're like, but true wisdom is knowing what's known at the Siddhic state, which is I'm here just to be. And when you're at the Siddhic state, you tend to release the ego. So it's really quite fascinating to look at it and to see how the Gene Keys wrap into it. And they're saying, now remember, it's not just, the Gene Keys are not a box for you to live in. You have all the Gene Keys. There are just certain ones where if you're feeling called towards this work, it's where they're showing up a little more prominently for you. Doesn't mean that that's all you got. I've read about different Gene Keys in there and flipped over and opened the book and totally resonated with other Gene Keys that are not my prominent ones at different times, right? So they're saying, so it's the same as anything else. You're not defined by anything. You are love, and that is it. And they're saying, and we're not talking romantic love, but for the sake of romantic love, like you guys are constantly striving. So when you look for gifts, you look for purpose, right? What you're really looking for is love. I want to feel love. And they're saying, so you guys think about love as romantic love most of the time, as being the highest and best kind of love. And they're like, no, all love is the same. It's all equal. It is all universal, right? So they're saying, so if you want romance, have romance with yourself. Be in love with yourself. Be in love with life. Be in love with the way that you show up in the world. Be in love with the world around you and the people around you, all of them equally. You can have the romantic form of one relationship. You can have a relationship as a parent-child. You can have a relationship with a book you read. You can have a relationship with someone you're chatting with on Facebook where you're feeling, like a lot of times I feel it in my heart, like, oh God, I love this conversation. They're like, that's romance. That is you. That is a gift. That's the gift. The feeling, the love. Like, it's not about, oh, am I tapping into my claircognizance? I'm not sure. Like, or, oh my God, am I using my gifts the way I'm meant to use them? They're like, you have infinite, abundant uses for love. Because love is love is love. Love is the thing. It is all things. It's all beings. It's all people. And that is all you need to know. A lot of you guys are looking for romantic love because you're trying to figure out who you are in the context of relationship. That's what the world of separation is. It's all about separateness. So therefore you need relationship, or you feel you need relationship. All you need is to recognize not who you are, but what you are, which is love. When you get down to the what, the rest of it starts to melt away. And the feeling of there are things outside of me that I need start to go away. And like I said, like I still have a lot of moments of, I feel like I need something right now. Like I feel like I'm not doing something. I'm missing something here. And they're going, that is the ego talking to you, Allison. I was going through this yesterday. And they were like, that's your ego telling you I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. I'm inadequate right now. And I was like, oh, right. Like we almost don't even see it. We don't see it. We don't see how inadequate we feel, or how unloved we feel, or how separate we feel from our own fucking source. Like we don't recognize that all the time. So there's nothing that is incomplete about us though. Like they're like, you guys see this giant mess of separateness, and we look at you guys and say, if only you could see what we could see. If only you could see your perfection and how loving you guys are, like how much you love that guy in the Middle East who's bombing people and terrorizing people, how much you recognize yourself in him, how much you recognize the God in him. They're like, you guys are going to find massive identity shifts, and your egos are gonna freak the F out when you look at other beings around you and start to see the divine in them. Your ego's gonna fight, it's gonna kick, it's gonna scream, it's gonna feel like you're getting kicked in the heart or in the solar plexus a lot. They're going like this. It's gonna make you feel emotionally unstable to look on criminals and look on people who do bad things. And you know what I mean? To say, source only sees love in this. They're like, you are gonna freak. You're gonna freak. And a lot of us are having this happen, where our compassion and our love, not our compassion and love are growing, but our awareness of them are growing, right? Because in a world of separateness, you need compassion, right? And so they're saying, so when you start to see these other people and the things they're doing and the gifts that they're putting in the world, and you're going, I don't agree, that's a part of you and yourself that you're reconciling, because you want to love them the way that source loves all, and the way that source is in all. But we struggle with that, and we feel it's so wrong. We feel it's so wrong to love this kid who just shot all these kids at school. But there was a part of me that was like, I love him unconditionally, and I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what to do about how wrong I feel for loving this person that just killed other people's children, you know. But there's got to be some gift inside of him, just like inside of me, just like in everyone else. And it's the recognition that we're all the same, and that there is no separateness. And so with every single gift that we're putting into the world, and I do believe all beings have purpose. All beings have purpose. All things have purpose. Or at least we believe they do, or we wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? So it's hard. It's hard to look upon the gifts of others and say, I love you no matter what. It's hard to have that that insane, unconditional, compassionate love for others. But all you can do is just say, you know what? We're all going to express ourselves in the world uniquely and differently. And they're saying, all you got to do is say, I love myself no matter what. It doesn't matter how I begin to express myself in the world. I'm going to do what makes me happiest. And they're saying, and if you want to see less shootings and less wars and less famine and poverty and shit like that, they're going, you guys need to start to come home to love. No matter what your damn gifts are or aren't, you are the gift. They're like, you're the gift. Doesn't matter to source how you put yourself out there or what you do. They're like, all source wants of you is for you to recognize what you are, which is love. And that's it. Anything you put out into the world is going to be a gift. And they're saying God works miracles out of these garbage dumps of situations all the fucking time. All the time. Doesn't create it, doesn't want it, but will work with it. Like the shootings and the poverty and the mass struggle and fear, focus and stuff like that. They're saying God will work in that. God will create miracles out of it. And they're saying it's kind of like Mr. Rogers when he says, look for the helpers. Like, look for the helpers when you see that stuff. I just got chills. It's like that. So I just had like a lot of beings walk in. Oh, they were just going, keep going. So they're just saying, so when it comes to understanding and saying, what's my gift? What's my gift? What am I here for? They're like, what do you want to be here for? What do you want to do? What's fun for you? What's exciting for you? And that's one of the number one things I hear from beings in the afterlife is, man, I didn't realize how much I loved the journey as it was. I wasn't letting myself have that. I wasn't letting myself enjoy it, but actually I really loved everything I did. And if anything, I wish that I would have lived and been more consciously aware of my own love for life and my own compassion and the fact that I never was getting it wrong. I was always on track, always meant to do the things that I was doing, and that there was infinite ways I could have done it, because it really, at the end of the day, was all about me just loving me and me just being this divine aspect of source expressing itself on earth. That's it. I gotta check my schedule. Okay, I still got a little bit of time. Who's got questions? Yeah, Lindsay, my ego fights so hard sometimes. It's like I'll be sitting there crying and judging, and what the tragedies and stuff that happen, and they're saying again, tragedy. Okay, I know this is hard. This is testing my ego too. I just want to tell you. They're saying that the label of tragedy is an ego label. Seeing the fear focus in it, what we want you to start to see is the love underneath all of it, and that only love is real. And so when you're looking at something and saying, oh, my heart hurts for these kids that just passed away, or their parents who are grieving this, and their friends who are going to be afraid and have PTSD. I've thought of all that stuff after the last shooting, and they were like, Allison, remember, it's always a call to remember love. Always, 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 always a call to remember love. So how can you remember love? This is just you needing to give love to you. And they're saying, don't discount those quiet little moments when you guys have that, wow, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that that this is catalyzing more of a discussion on mental health in high schools, that this is causing a lot of teenagers to start to rise up above their bullshit, they're saying the bullshit laptops and Facebook, and actually go to Washington and want to create change. I'm grateful that my kids are safe. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful that I'm happy. They're saying all love, every second, all the time. It's all, they're saying it's all, love working within you to create higher frequency. And the more you raise your frequency, it actually impacts all. It impacts all. And they're saying, so again, like you guys are like, well, crap, I can't hold a high frequency. And they're like, all you need to do is recognize that high frequency is what you are. That loving frequency is what you are. It's just simply a recognition of it, a return to it. Does that make sense? Like a conscious return. I know that this is probably, some people are like, fuck you. I'm just going to say that right now. Because I say that to myself sometimes too. So, like, not about others, but about myself. Looking. Katie, best way to strengthen intuition, recognize that you already are intuitive. Everyone. It's all about trust. It's all about trusting the self and knowing that you can't get it wrong. Yeah, Paula, yeah, there is like, you know, collective agreement, and there's also, you know, a lot of love in it. There is a lot of love behind the scenes. We just, you know, like, it's kind of like our fear and our sadness and grief can get in the way and prevent us from recognizing it, you know. Oh, that's cool, Sky. I'm glad that you had that experience. Yeah, love is the only thing that's real. If you guys don't read Course in Miracles and and I'm really, really being sincere, the exercises in the workbook, big deal, like game changer, and your ego will freak. I'm just gonna say that. But it can be fun. You can always make it fun. You can always have fun. That's funny, Lindsay. Oh, thank you, Julie. Yeah, so like identifying a gift is really, well, what do you want to do? What would make you happy? What would make you happy? Like, because you being in love with life and having that like romance in your whole life, and that romance within yourself, because you love yourself, and you the more you love yourself, the more you see that in the world, and the more you feel that for everything that you're doing. Even that job that you used to hate can be more fun when you are loving on yourself. You realize like there's romance in the little things, like all the little things, and it takes a lot of self-love and a lot of presence, a lot of stillness, and a lot of being willing. And when I say stillness, I don't mean just sitting and meditating. I mean letting your thoughts go. Like really letting go of your thoughts and letting go of the fear thoughts and letting yourself return to a loving state. It's really all about what's going to make me happy. Like, you being happy is the gift. You know what I mean? Like, there's not, I think we like to complicate this stuff so much. Like, we really want it to be so complicated, and we've been raised in societies where we've been told it's got to be complicated, it's got to be hard, you have to earn it. You don't. Like, you don't have to struggle, you don't have to sacrifice, you know. That's just ego. And I swear I'm going to spend my entire lifetime undoing this. Like, not for others, but for myself. And this belief that it's got to be complicated and there's not enough that's been done yet. You know? I took a break from the course and needed to have some experiences for some reason. So Paula, what's kind of cool about the Course in Miracles is that one of the first lines is, this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. And it's not about you reading the book or doing the exercises, although I found that they help. It's actually, they will help a lot. They're going to help a lot for a lot of you guys. However, it's not about it just reading the book. Like, your whole entire life, every experience you have is a return to love. So there's no way literally you can fuck it up. That's why it said it's a required course. It's like, well, you're going through it in every way possible throughout your life, whether you recognize it or not. Whether or not you ever read the book, you know, because a miracle is just a shift from fear to love in your perception, you know, because we're just a consciousness, and we're perceiving physical form, you know. So the physical form is actually like the manifestation of ego, as the Course says. And they're like, yeah, because why would God want to create separateness? That was like a part of consciousness that was like, oh, I think I want to know what it's like to be separate. And then you get down here and you're like, I don't like this. This is sad. What's the fine line between choosing love in the midst of tragedy and feeling like you're being selfish, heartless for not suffering? They're saying, remember that you're a collective consciousness, and so what you do for yourself, you actually are doing for all. The more you choose love and the more you're choosing what makes you happy, not from an egoic standpoint of fuck that shit, you know, like a defiant standpoint, but from a loving and unconditional standpoint of, I recognize that I feel sad. I don't feel that great about this. This is telling me that there's a lack of love here, or that I'm perceiving a lack of love. So all you need to do is then choose a loving thing, and what you do for one, you do for all. And they're saying, and you can always, they're saying if it soothes you, when you extend a loving thought toward the parents, or they're saying fuck towards that kid that shot the other kids. They're saying, or towards Hitler, you extend love towards Hitler, you are impacting millions. Like, they're like, that is such a high frequency of love and forgiveness to say, I love you anyways. They were like, that's what real forgiveness is. I love you anyways. I see the love in me, sees the love in you, and holds that as the most powerful thing. That will heal your heart like nothing fucking else. And they're like, and trust that, you know, as a collective, what starts to happen is you'll start to notice a shift. You'll see the world differently, people around you, you'll start to notice more and more people feeling differently. You'll start to notice you're magnetizing higher frequency experiences to you. And it's not just that they would be different, but you're perceiving them in a more loving way. And so it's kind of like they're saying, like, the collective is kind of like clearing, it's cleansing right now. And that's why there's so much mass destruction going on. But it's really about a fierce call to return to and remember love. So you actually, by returning to love and remembering love, and remembering that that's all there is, and choosing to see love despite. So they're saying, so we know that you can't get to the place where you're like, I don't even recognize war. Like, we know that's not possible for you right now in your consciousness. I just pulled the truth card. They were like, what's up, truth bombs all over. They're saying, we know you can't perceive that yet. You can't make that big of a jump, right? Like, that would be like a massive leap. Like, you basically have to release the physical form to do that. So in your life, what you can do is say, so I'm recognizing this thing. How can I add love? Every fear is a call to add love. So how can I just add love to the situation, to these people, to myself? Because they're like, it's not just about loving the others, it's about loving you as a part of them. I hope that helps. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. Sometimes I get on and I don't know entirely what's going to come out. But that's what happens when you're really channeling, because like really channeling as if you can't be channeling, but it's like being in conversation where it's just like in the moment. If you're trying to plan ahead of time, that's like egoic, because you know it's all ego. But it's like when you're like truly channeling, it's like it just comes through, and you just say, because I love, I'm gonna say it, you know, like it's like that. If you can't put your finger on your gifts, yeah, they can. Yeah, I would say the human design and gene keys can help you. However, what I'm noticing is I'm getting messages from people who have done gene keys or human design, and they're going, well, I'm a projector, so I can't. Or my son is a reflector, so he's never going to be able to. And I'm like, fuck that shit. That's a bunch of bullshit. Bunch of bullshit. When I look at my human design and gene keys, I look at them, but not through the context of limitation. You're not limited by anything. You're a piece of source. You're not a victim to human design or gene keys or your DNA or your circumstances. You're not a victim to your body. You're not a victim to anything. It's all a choice of consciousness, all choice that's happening in your heart. Do I love myself and believe I'm transcending it all or not? And so someone yesterday messaged me and said, my son's a reflector and I'm so worried about him and yada, yada, yada. And I said, yes, you are worried about him. He's like, I'm fucking cool, Mom. I know how to navigate the world. I don't care what anything says about me. I'm cool. That's it. That's it. So like when it comes to gene keys and human design, I'm always telling people it can be an awesome, fun breadcrumb trail, but what it's going to do is solidify what you already know. So stop attaching to things like, oh, I've got an open throat chakra, so I can't talk. Like I had a girl come to me and say, my throat chakra is blocked, so I have trouble speaking. And I was like, so why don't you choose to just believe it's not blocked? Or that you're not a victim to that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's us. Like we need to stop seeing limitation and start to look at all of the beautiful things around us and say, oh wow, thanks for the boost. You know, like you can transcend anything. And that's what the gene keys are actually all about, is coming into the Siddhic state, which recognizes no lack, complete oneness, and complete self-love despite everything. That's why in the gene keys it says, listen, these are the more prominent ones, but you have them all. You have them all, and they're like, and even ones that aren't recognized in there. It's all just a reflection of frequency. And what you are recognizing and they're saying what you focus on expands. Do your consciousness. It expands. So if you're focusing and remembering, it's not about who I am or what my design is or anything. That stuff can help me clarify. And they're saying it can help you know and love and trust yourself if you focus on strengths and you focus on loving yourself no matter what, and you stop focusing on the fucking weaknesses that you perceive in it. So they're saying one of the best things you can do as you read human design is to stop saying, oh, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to be this, because they're like, you're not supposed to do or be anything but love, because that is the God-given truth. That is all you fucking are. So once you center, they're saying that is your foundation. It is the ground beneath your feet. It's going to make you stop feeling shaky, wobbly like this. When you remember, I am love, and that is it. And so are you, and so in you. Your designs are cool. Like they bring that out in you, and they can elevate that in you, and through a really great form of, they're like, again, because you're in a human form, expression. Right? But to God doesn't, they're like, love does not care. It's unconditional. Doesn't care what your design is. It's like, cool, man. Like, that's just like, gives you, they're like, it's kind of like a treasure map to yourself, but it is not going to feel like an adventure or a treasure map if you're focusing on the limitations in it all the time. So like, for example, when I look at my gene keys, and Ashley can attest to this, even when I flip to pages, I just did it again. I never ever am guided to read the shadow. They're like, don't even focus on it. It's not who you are. It's the low frequency. That's not who you are. Focus on the acidic state. Focus on the gift. Like I almost always, without even trying, flip to the acidic, the city, and not the gift or the shadow. And the gift is pretty high frequency. So it's like, I literally just did it again. 48th city, wisdom. Can you guys see that? Like I literally just did it again. Like you can't, I mean, I think with anything, it's really easy to focus on the limitation. And I would say in Ashley and I's mastermind, we're not going to focus on your fucking limitations anymore. I don't believe you need to transcend fear or learn lessons over and over and over and fucking over again. What we want to do is illuminate what is actually your true nature, which is the acidic state, and at least the gift state, which are higher frequency. The gift state is when you get into a service of more of a loving state, but there's still fear present. And I feel a lot of us actually exist in that more. We exist in the acidic state. We recognize the gift state, but a lot of us will feel like we're going into dips. So self-doubt or feeling lack or limitation is basically the essence of the fear frequency, which is that shadow state in the gene keys. And they're like, you know, the great thing Richard Rudd did when he wrote the book was he wrote a lot of the shadow states as though they were able to be transcended, and he didn't focus too much on negativity in them. And I've noticed when I do read the shadow ones, I'm like, oh, this is actually a great way to put this in there. It doesn't feel so consuming, but we make fear frequency feel consuming. So when you look at your gifts and stuff like that, they're like, your gift is love, and that's it. That's all you have, your very presence. So like for me, like I said, I get attached to doing. Like I'm not doing enough. Oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. So when I'm sitting, I have free time. Oh my gosh, I better read A Course in Miracles. Like, you know, we add even to the spiritual journey. So like I start to realize, well, no, actually my true nature is to be. And that's reflected in the gene keys a lot in the acidic state. Yeah, we're actually like your true nature, and Rebecca just pointed this out, is that you are actually literally limitless. Our human forms make us think otherwise, but there are things and gifts that we all have, and they all lead home to the one gift, which is love. There is no limitation. There's no lack. There's nothing you need to know. It's what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What feels loving? What feels fun? What feels exciting? What feels like it's just part of your adventure? You know, because they're like, all your soul came here for was this experience. And the experience is neutral. How you feel about it, how you perceive it is not. Same thing with you. Like you are actually neutral, completely loving being, but how your consciousness perceives you is not neutral. So all you can do is choose to add love all the time, whether you're trying to figure out gifts and you're trying to figure out how do I use them. It's all, how do you want to use it? So keep following that breadcrumb trail that's telling you, they're saying, you know, if a lot of you guys are wanting a little more definition. So if you're wanting more definition, how can I use this to serve that cause, to serve that group of people? They're like, a lot of you guys are feeling called towards service on a higher level, not one-on-one work so much all the time, but like, I want to change something that's going on in the world. I want to help a group of people. And they're saying there's infinite ways to do that. Get people together and start brainstorming ways. Start to talk about what you each bring to the table, and not bring to the table as in, oh, I'm good at that, so I guess I have to do it. Like, I'm good at taking roll call. Well, fuck that shit. If you don't like that, just be honest and say, I don't like doing that. You know what I mean? Like, in my son's school, there's certain committees where I'm like, yeah, I'd be great at doing the event stuff, but I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound fun to me. At freaking all, I don't like logistics. That is going to be a nightmare. I was like, that's going to be really hard for me, and I'm going to not enjoy that experience, and that does affect the experience. So they're saying, like, stop judging the way in which you want to do things and just go do them that way. Because if you're in the human experience and you're perceiving you need to do, then at least have fun doing. And if you're in the human experience and you're going, man, I really feel called to take a rest and take a break and not do anything, they're like, that's the acidic state. It's not entropy. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not lazy. They're like, you guys, your egos judge that shit so bad, but that's your soul saying, hey, time to connect with you. That you're gonna, trust me, you're gonna enjoy life way more the more you do this. And you're gonna be guided to go do the things that are happier and highest and best, because you're actually giving yourself the chance to go within and connect and not do a damn thing other than just be. They're like, a lot of you guys judge that as boredom or entropy or laziness. It is actually peace. You're misreading peace. They're like, please try, like, please try to feel this. Like, they're all like going like, this week, we have so much compassion. We want you to see it. We want you to see what it actually is. It's peace. It's a state of grace. It's not entropy. You're not going backwards. You're not lazy. We're not judging you. God loves when you sit there and have peace. You're allowed to have that no matter what, no matter what's going on around you or in the world. So they're saying God doesn't care what's on your bank account. God doesn't care if you're able to go use your hands to do something. They're like, God doesn't care if you can't use your legs, or God doesn't care if you are pretty or not. God sees only love, because that is all God is, and like, that's what you are. They're like, how could God see anything in you but what it already is? It's a mirror for itself. It's perfect perfection. It's eternal love. It's eternal light. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. Alrighty, well, PM us if you're interested in the mastermind. It's going to start mid-March, but we've got a lot of people who have been contacting us for calls. I also have an event that I'm going to run. I'm actually going to do some channeling, live channeling for a group of people, and just like have like a fun meetup with like, I think maybe casual drinks or like some food there. We'll do some coaching and just chatting and getting to know each other. It's going to be in LA, and I believe March 16th is the day. So I'm going to actually do some live channeling. I may even do some trance channeling. Paul Walker is going to come in. He's like, how can I resist? Ananda is going to come in and talk, if you haven't heard of Ananda. And Source is going to actually come in and do a channeling, like in like the highest, I don't know how to explain it, the way that I interpret Source, when Source talks to me as a separate entity. Does that make sense? So if you guys are there, PM me. I'm going to start posting links to like grab a seat and stuff like that, just because I am going to be having, like some little treats there and stuff. So I am going to have like, it is going to be a paid thing, just so that I can help myself cover food and drinks and stuff like that. So if you guys are in the LA area or around there, it's going to likely be March 16th. I'm thinking it's going to be just a couple hours, nothing too, like, I'm pretty casual. So I'm just going to go and like do some channeling. I want us to all get together in person, just meet each other. I am also probably going to have a VIP day. So if you're interested in doing the VIP day, where we have a little bit of like super small group or like or one-on-one time, PM me about that. If you're in California and you're like, ooh, I would love to have like a live, like in-person reading or meeting, you know what I mean? Like a coaching session or something like that. Definitely PM me, because I'm going to have a couple of those as well. Alrighty guys, well, I'm going to get going. I've got a call right now. Love you all. Go and have an amazing day, and go and remember, it's not about what's my gift. Don't make it complicated. I am love. Every time you're making it complicated, getting into fear focus, I am love. That's all I need to know. This person is love. That's all I need to know. This experience is love. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. If you've got questions, PM me because I got to hop on a call. All right. Bye, guys.